Hello and welcome. My name is Retro, and today I am here with a guide for new players, telling them what they should be doing, how to get out of the new game. As I strongly believe this game is a very clear, defined new, mid, and late game content, and I feel like the game, because of its poorly designed systems, can often be difficult to actually figure out what a new game player should do and what is the clear end of the new game. I said recently in a video that New War is the completion of the tutorial, and someone in the comment section thought that was a joke and that they had spent already hundreds of hours in the game and hadn't completed New War yet. But New War locks you out of 7 different Warframes, most of the game's arcanes, including including being able to slot on arcanes on all of your weapons. It also locks you out of the best weapon mods in the game, the best survivability mods in the game for your Warframe, the best weapons in the game, Archon charge as well. Like, New War locks you behind so many different stuff. It is a very clear division between the new game and the mid game. So I'm basically going to tell you, how do you get to New War, starting from the very start of War's Prize. How do you get to it? What are some stuff you should avoid? What are some stuff you should consider doing? And all that stuff like that. So let's discuss. To begin with, I want to say, ignore side quests. I will talk about a few exceptions that I think you should do, but side quests are not needed. Honestly, the longer you take throughout the new game experience, the longer you take to actually really start to get into the meat of the game, as half of the game's content is really locked behind New War. I will say though, if the side quests seem fun to you and you're having fun doing them, then by all means, go do them. Like, the game is meant to be enjoyed. You should enjoy it however way you want, whichever way you want to do it. But you can also just go back to the side quests once you've reached the mid-game. It's entirely up to you if you want to slow down your progress to the mid-game and do them now, or you can try and rush through the mid-game and do them later once you've got to the mid-game. That's up to you. Doesn't really matter that much. I personally would say ignore them, as they don't really give you much by doing them, except the few I'm going to mention. But if you want to do them just because you think they're going to be fun, definitely go and do them. Okay, so the game starts with War's Prize. Obviously, you have to start with this quest. It's the tutorial quest. And it will make you select between one of 3 different beginning Warframes, being Mag, Excalibur, and Vault. All 3 Warframes are actually pretty good. Mag and Vault being two of the best Warframes in the entire game. Excalibur is a bit worse than the 2 of them, but all 3 are very good frames. And my recommendation to you would be simply pick whichever frame you think you're going to have the most fun with, as it doesn't matter which one you pick. However, if you did want to know what I truly believe to be the best one of the 3 for a new player, it's going to be Vault, because Vault offers a lot of utility, especially for new players, and even all the way into the late game. He does stuff that other Warframes literally can't do. So yes, Vault would be my recommendation if you wanted a 100% recommendation, but it doesn't matter which one you pick. Pick whichever ones you want. But I will say Vault is what I believe to be one of the best new player Warframes, so that could be considered to get it. Something else I will say though is you can get Vault very early in the game, almost immediately actually. So if you don't want to pick Vault, you can get one of the other 2 and then just pick up Vault by crafting him yourself, separate from the starting system. So you do War's Prize. Once you've done, just go through it, enjoy the quest. It will explain the mechanics, the movement in the game. Pretty simple, just do the quest. Once you've done the quest, you'll be left off at Earth. And you'll see a bunch of these different nodes, which are the missions, we call them nodes, on the planet. And you'll see a line chaining each node to another node. Pretty simply, this line is basically your path that you should follow. To unlock a new mission on a planet, you have to have completed a mission connecting to it. So you wouldn't be able to get to Pacific, as an example, unless you have done this mission here, as the line reaches down to it. So there's a bunch of different missions like this on each and different planet. And you'll notice they lead to things like junctions. We can see the Mars junction here and the Venus junction here. What junctions are is they will give you a set of challenges that will then allow you to unlock the next planet on what we call the star chart. This is what we call the star chart. It's basically, you access it from your orbiter just by going into navigation, and then you have the whole star chart here. So you have to complete these challenges for the junctions to get to the next planet. Your goal as a new player is to get to this planet right here, Sender, which is the last planet in the star chart. So you have to go all the way around the star chart till you reach Sender. And I'm going to take you through that, and I'm going to take you talk about some of the things that you might want to consider doing once you get to each different planet. Before we start though, just simply on Earth, I want to bring up 2 things. First is Master Rank, and the second one is Devuri. So starting with Master Rank is like your player account. As you'll see, I'm MR25. Mastery will lock you behind certain items in the game. Certain items require a set master rank for who you can use them. However, mostly weapons. However, the last MR you need to be before you unlock everything in the game is MR16, so it stops really mattering after that. The way you level up with Mastery is leveling up items in the game will give you Mastery XP. So Warframes, Companions, other items like that will give you 200 MR per level, and since they go to a max level of 30, you'll get 6,000 MR XP from them. And weapons will give you 100 MR per level, and again they go to level 30, so they'll give you 3,000 MR XP per weapon, right? And you can only master a weapon or a Warframe or something else like that once. So you can't master a Warframe and then say get a second Warframe of a second version of that same Warframe, level it up again, and expect to be getting MR. That's not how it works. You only get it once. Additionally, completing missions also will give you mastery, and completing junctions will also give you mastery. My recommendation simply is this. When you first start the game, you'll have your starter Warframe and the starter weapons. Just go and do missions. You'll get MR from the missions. You'll level your weapons, which will also give you MR. As simple as that. There will reach a point later on in the start chart where you can start paying more attention to actually leveling up your weapons to increase your MR a bit more. But at this point, I don't think you really need to worry about it that much. I will say, however, if you've reached the point where you've maxed out all your level weapons, and I just say, just go out, do missions. It's 2 birds, 1 stone. You'll progress in the star chart while you're also leveling up your weapons for MR. So once your starting weapons are maxed out, there is very easy and simple weapons you can get to replace them, which you can also then max out for your MR. And how do you get these weapons? Well, they're the MK1 variation of weapons. So these are all the MK1 weapons here. And you'll notice they each just are bought for credits. You just buy them and then you get them in your inventory straight up like that. You just buy them for credits. Comparatively, there are also a ton of blueprints in the market. This is just the market in your orbiter. And you'll see it says it has a cost for platinum. What this means is the actual weapon, to buy it outright, will have a platinum cost. But many weapons in the game... Trying to find an example. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Here we go. Many weapons in the game you'll be able to purchase their blueprints for credits straight from the market, and then all you have to do is go down into your foundry and then build them. Items like this that say blueprint required and don't let you purchase them are weapons that are farmed or bought from different locations, so you can't buy them from the market, and that's what that is about. And it should also tell you exactly how you get the blueprint as well. On a related note to MR, you also have all the weapons and items in the clan dojo. So when you start the game, you probably want to think about joining a clan in the game, as they will give you access to the clan dojo, which is its own area built in separately and decorated by the actual clan you're in. And in the clan dojo, you have 4 main labs, being the Tenno, Chem, Bio, and Energy lab. In these labs are a bunch of different items and even more frames that you can then purchase and then build in your foundry. If you're looking for a clan and you don't have a clan, you can go down into the description of this video and click on my Discord invite link, join the Discord, and then ask for a clan invite to my clan in my Discord. So you're more than welcome to join. We are happy to have as many new players as possible, and we have a bunch of older players as well that are more than happy to give you advice on your builds and other stuff and help you play the game. Heading back over to Earth, let's actually now talk about the progression through the star chart. So, first of all, we can see that Earth has 2 junctions here, the Venus junction and the Mars junction. Let's look at the Mars junction. Junctions tell us exactly what we need to do in order to unlock the junction. As you can see, this junction needs us to complete a quest called Once Awaken, which, as we can also see, can only be unlocked once we've got completed the Mercury junction. So clearly, we can't go to Mars yet. Instead, we need to go to Venus and then Mercury, which is obviously linked to Venus. To unlock the Venus junction, we can see we need to complete Divorce Prize. Woohoo, we've already done that. Fuse one of the mods, which is just a simple thing the game will tell you to do throughout the entire star chart to introduce you to different new mechanics in the game. And then also complete the quest Sire's Visual. So, how do you complete Sire's Visual? So you'll notice this little thing right here called Cetus. It looks a bit different to all the other nodes on this map on Earth. It is connected to this node here, the Plains of Eidolon, which is a free roam map. It is an open world with a fixed map, which has a bunch of different activities you can do, like fishing, hunting animals, mining, and also doing different missions called bounties. However, as you can see, the enemy level for the Plains of Eidolon is level 10 to 30. while the enemy level for the other Earth missions are a lot lower than that. Because of this, the open worlds, like the Plains of Eidolon, have often been considered noob traps. What that means is the level of enemies on these areas are much higher than what you would be expected to play starting off, and also don't really give you anything of benefit. But we have to engage with Cetus in order to actually get to Venus. So you have to go to Cetus and then talk to Konzu, which is a person, so you have to go to Cetus. Cetus is your first little introduction to the MMO aspect of this game. It is a lobby area which a bunch of different players can come to and interact with different vendors at Cetus for different items, including Gonzo, who's this guy right here. Gonzo will give you bounties, which will give you standing to level up with the Cetus Syndicate, which is called the Ostrons, which you can see here. At different levels of the Syndicate, you will be able to purchase different items from the different vendors in Cetus. A lot of this information isn't really as important to you right now, as I said, as a lot of this stuff really isn't as useful for new players. But there are a bunch of different vendors that will give a bunch of different stuff, and even some weapons. So that's what Cetus is all about. My recommendation for you, however, would be to simply do the Sire's Visual quest, and then leave Cetus and don't return for a good while. Once you've completed Sire's Visual, you will now be able to enter the Venus Junction. The Venus Junction, like all junctions, will have a Warframe Spectre Guardian, which you'll have to fight and kill in order to actually complete the junction. The Venus Junction should be pretty simple. A lot of the earlier ones should be pretty simple, but some of the later ones can get a bit difficult. Junctions are solo only though, so you really just have to fight in there and do the best you can, ask for advice on mods potentially, and some other strategies you can do. Once you've completed the Venus Junction, you will be given the rewards that are currently showing up on the bottom of the screen, including a weapon named the Furus, a bunch of different mods like Northwind, Stormbird, something called the Taxon, and also, very importantly, an Aura mod, Dreamer's Bond. Aura mods are mods that you can put on your Warframe that will increase the mod capacity of the Warframe while giving you buffs for your whole squad. Dreamer's Bond is one you get very early on and can be very useful for new players, as it will give you both energy regen over time and health regen over time. The stats it gives is both very small and aren't good later in the game, but as a new player these can definitely be useful buffs to have. The Taxon is a companion. Companions are very cool items in the game, as they can roam around and fly next to you or fight alongside you and attack enemies, and they often give quite a bit of good utility. So I definitely recommend building the Taxon a second you get the blueprint, as it will kill enemies for you and also give you some additional utility, and it could be nice to just have someone to fight alongside you. So definitely make the companion straight away. Companions have their own modding screen, and they can take 10 mods, and they also come with their own weapon. This is not the weapon that Taxon actually comes with, as you can mix and max different Sentinel weapons, but they will each come with their own weapon, which each have 8 slots. The companion itself will give you 6,000 Master Rank XP for completely leveling it, and the weapon will also give you MR XP, which will give you 3,000. So in total, Taxon will give you 9,000 MR for fully maxing it and its weapon. So besides those two, the other thing that the Venus Junction unlocks is, of course, Venus itself. And Venus will introduce you to the next enemy type in the game, called Corpus. On Earth, you will face enemies called Grineer. Corpus are a bit different from Grineer, and they rely less on raw tankiness and instead have shields that regen over time. They also have faster fire rate, generally speaking, so they can seem like they do more damage than Grineer. Your mission in Venus is obviously to get to the Mercury Junction, and we can see here that to do it, we have to complete a few things. First of all, we have to complete 10 waves of defense on one of the Venus missions, one of the defense missions, this one right here. We also have to complete defeat the Jackal on Fossa, which is the boss for this planet, and we have to complete the mission Vox Solaris, which you do by going to Fortuna, which is Venus's open world area, just like Cetus is for Earth. Fortuna will give you the Vox Solaris quest, the same way you would get Sire's Visual. You talk to Udico, which is the main person for the Syndicate, and it is related to the Orb of Valis open world. Just like I said with Plains of Eidolon, I highly recommend simply just doing the quest and then leave it immediately and don't come back. Once you've completed Venus, you will have finally unlocked Mercury, and upon completing Mercury, you will unlock the quest Once Awakened, which is the next quest in the story. Completing Once Awakened will introduce you to the Infested, the third main faction of this game, and will also finally give you access to Mars. Additionally, however, upon reaching Mercury, you will also gain access to the side quest, Howl of the Kuburo. Howl of the Kuburo is definitely a side quest I recommend doing because it will give you access to Kuburos, which are another type of companion, a beast companion that will run alongside you. Beast companions can do quite a lot of damage, so I definitely recommend picking them up and trying them out alongside your Sentinel companion, Taxon. Beast companions also come with their own unique weapon, just like Sentinel companions. However, their weapons cannot be interchanged. They can only use their unique weapon, and their weapon also doesn't give MR like the Sentinel ones do. So you'll only get 6,000 MR for fully level the actual Beast companion itself. Once you've done Once Awakened, you will now be able to return back to Earth, and you'll be able to complete the Mars Junction. Once you get to Mars, you'll see that Mars can go to 3 different planets. Phobos, one of Mars's moons, Deimos, another one of Mars's moons, and Ceres, a dwarf planet that actually exists in the real world. You probably don't know that. Deimos, you'll see, doesn't have a junction, and you can actually go to Deimos straight away, as simple as that. Phobos and Ceres, however, do both have junctions. First, let's look at the Phobos junction. The Phobos junction is very easy. It will simply just kind of take you through what Void Fissures are. Void Fissures will give you prime items, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, Platinum. Platinum is the premium currency in this game, which meaning you use money to buy it. But you can actually also farm Platinum for free in this game. The best way to farm Platinum as a new player is simply doing some vision missions, which you can access in the alert area up here, and collecting some random junk prime items. You don't need to collect anything specifically, just get whatever prime items you can have your hands on. Then you can simply go into the trade terminal down here, this one that says here, and you can type in something like WTB, which means want to buy, WTS, which means want to sell, prime junk. Then people will come to you, see what you have to offer them, and if they like it, they'll give you some platinum for it. So that's an easy and quick way to farm up some platinum as a new player. In order to unlock the Ceres junction, we need to defeat the Sergeant on Phobos, which is the boss for Phobos. If we head over to Phobos now, we can see that the boss can be found on this planet right here. Phobos will also give us access to the Void, which is another area in this game. As you can see, the Void has 4 different sections, and there are 4 different places you can unlock it. Phobos will give you access to the first section of the Void. Once you've completed this boss on Phobos, you also need to make your way down to Deimos and complete the quest Heart of Deimos, which will direct you to the third and last open world area in the game, which is the Infested open world area. It works the same as the other 2 open worlds. Once again, I recommend simply doing the Heart of Deimos quest and then leaving it and never come back. Once you've done these 2 parts on Mars' 2 moons, you'll finally be able to do the Ceres junction and make your way over to the dwarf planet Ceres, which will then give you the option to go to Jupiter. But we have to do the Jupiter junction first, and to do the Jupiter junction, we must also have to complete the Archwing. The Archwing is the next quest line in the main story, and will introduce to you what Archwings are and Archwing missions. Besides that, you'll also have to defeat the series boss and do some other missions just to introduce you to different mechanics of the game. Once you've done that, you're able to go to Jupiter. Jupiter will give you access to Europa, which is one of Jupiter's many moons, as well as Saturn. To get to Saturn though, you'll see that we must first do a mission on Europa. We have to complete an extermination mission on Europa. So we need to first go to Europa. But to get to Europa, you'll also see that you need to do a mission in the Void. One of the missions that is unlocked through Phobos through the Void. So you have to go back through Phobos, get to the Void, complete this mission, make sure you go to Jupiter, get up to the Europa Junction, and you'll then be able to go to the Europa Junction. Europa will give us access to the second section of the Void, these missions right here. And you'll also be able to complete the mission necessary to unlock the Saturn Junction. Before you actually get to Saturn though, unlocking Europa will give you access to a quest called the New Strange. The New Strange is another side quest that I recommend doing, as it will give you access to a game mode called Sanctuary Onslaught, which is a game mode you can access right here with the alert menu on the navigation. You can see Sanctuary Onslaught and the elite version, which gives more different enemies. Sanctuary Onslaught is a very good way to level items in this game. I recommend doing this whenever you want to level an item. Make sure you play on public so you get other people, and you'll level items faster. So I definitely recommend completing the New Strange quest, because it will help you unlock items and also level up items and get MR. Speaking of items, you probably wonder what are some good weapons to kind of play out through the game. So I honestly just recommend doing any kind of melee weapon, as melee weapons are quite powerful in this game and require a lot less work than actual guns. But if you go and do the Shrine Defense mission back on Earth, which you will unlock basically the second you unlock Cetus, you will also be able to access two pretty decent weapons, which are both only need MR2 to use. The reason why I didn't mention this earlier is you'll see the enemy level is a bit higher, but by the time you get to Europa, you'll definitely be able to do Sire's Vision without any difficulty. The mission itself for Sire's Vision will have a chance of dropping the two weapons I'm about to tell you about, but you can also go up to this shrine here and click offer fate pearls, which will then allow you to buy either the Hagasa and the components you need to make it, or the Amanita and the components you need to make it. Both weapons are decently good for new players and can definitely be very helpful to you. It'll also give you access to the Warframe Koumei. I don't recommend getting her. She is not a good companion, or not a good Warframe to get for a new player. What are some good Warframes to get for a new player is Rhino, which you get from the Venus boss, Vault, which I already mentioned, which you get from the Tenno Lab in the dojo, as well as Rukon, which you also get from the Tenno Lab in the dojo. As a new player, you only start with 2 Warframe slots, meaning you can only have 2 Warframes, and the only way to get more is by buying them with Platinum. And one of those 2 Warframe slots is taken up by your starting Warframe, meaning you only have 1 extra Warframe slot. You are given 50 Platinum at the start of the game, and you can use that 50 Platinum to buy an additional 2 Warframe slots, which I highly recommend you doing. But that still only means you have 3 slots to put new frames in. So I would either only recommend getting a Warframe that you think you're going to really enjoy and have fun with, or either Rhino, Rukon, and Vault, because they're the ones that are going to be the best for you as a new player. Anyway, moving back to the start chart, we're now on Saturn, and Saturn unlocks the next side quest, being the Deadlock Protocol. Deadlock Protocol is another side quest I recommend you doing because it will give you for free the melee weapon Zorus, which is a glaive, meaning it's a thrown melee, which you hold the melee button to throw and then tap the heavy attack button to then explode once it's thrown out, and it does a lot of damage. It's a very good weapon, especially to be getting so early on in the game. So I recommend doing the Deadlock Protocol just for Zorus, as it will be able to carry you throughout most of the star chart. Once again, doing it at the Saturn Junction will simply just get you to defeat the boss on Saturn and then introduce you to some additional features in the game. Completing the Saturn Junction will give you access to Uranus and also give you access to the quest Devuri Paradox. Devuri Paradox is a bit of an interesting quest. It is again a side quest, but I highly recommend doing it. So the Devuri Paradox you can get by entering the codex here, which is right here in the Orbiter, and then you can go into not Warframe quests, side quests, even though I don't know why it's a side quest, I would have thought it would be a main quest, and then you can click on the Devuri Paradox. You should have unlocked it straight away at the start of the mission, game, straight after War's Prize. Warning, Devuri's Paradox is a bit different. The game is, you kind of are playing a different game within Warframe. It's not the game you've already been introduced to. However, Devuri can offer you some very good benefits as a new player. One of the biggest this is the Devuri menu here, and one of the biggest benefits Devuri can offer is actually through the circuit. Each week, you will have a choice between one of 3 different Warframes. You can simply select which Warframe you want. So let's go for Revenant, and then you'll get this reward tree here. By doing missions in the circuit, you'll be able to gain progression for this reward tree, which will not only include all of the Warframe's parts, one of its augments, but will also include some other nice mods that are very nice to have as a new player that you probably don't have access to, and also some arcanes, which is something else that is used to improve your power for your weapons and Warframes. Additionally, you will also be able to go to your Dormi Zone, which is an area unlocked after the completion of the Devuri Paradox, and you will be able to talk to this person right here, which is somewhat of a specific vendor related to Devuri itself, and you use a resource called Pathos Clams to buy certain items. And this can also be a useful thing for new players, as it can give you access to items that normally would only really be available for mid-game players quite easily as a new game. For example, Orokin Reactors, which will double the mod capacity of your Warframes. So this can be a very helpful way to get access to items that you don't really have access to starting off. So it's up to you if you want to do Devuri or not, as the quest is a bit long and honestly bad. And the area is a bit different to what you'll be used to in Warframe. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a game within a game. But it does give you access to items as a new player that you probably wouldn't have access to yet, so it can be very useful to you. To complete the Neptune Junction, you have to again complete the boss on Neptune, and also you will need to complete the quest Natar. Natar is the first quest of the first main story arc of the game, being the New War arc. So Uranus is when the actual main story of this game starts to actually pick up and actually starts to happen. Once you completed Natar, you'll be able to move on to Jupiter. Accessing Neptune. Going to Neptune will also give you access to the third section of the Void. And will also give you access to the Pluto junction. Upon completing said junction, you have to first do the second dream, which is a very good quest and will change the way you think of the game potentially. And it is the next main quest in the main storyline. So you have to do the second dream, and I encourage you to just enjoy it and have fun with it. After you complete Neptune, you'll then move on to Pluto, which will give you access to both Eris and Senda, which are two dwarf planets that actually exist in this solar system. Probably might not know that. Ares is actually a completely optional planet. You don't actually need to go to it, but there can still be some good stuff to do, and you'll need to go to eventually, obviously, in the mid-game, so you can unlock this junction if you want anyway. But the main thing you want to work towards is the Senda junction, and to do this, you have to complete the quest Rising Tide, which will introduce you to the Railjack and the next quest in the main storyline. And then finally, you will have gotten to Senda. And once you're at Senda, you will have the fourth section of the Void unlocked. And assuming you've also already unlocked Ares, you now have access to every planet in the game. Well, as far as you know. Now, it is easy as a new game player to reach Senda and think you've done it. You've beat the new game. You're moving on now to bigger and better things. But in reality, you're actually not even close. And there's still a lot of steps you need to do before reaching New War, which will then allow you to go and do a lot more other stuff. Upon completing the Senda Junction, you will be given the quest War Within. Not only is War Within the next quest in the main storyline, but it will give you access to all new types of mechanics in the game, as well as an entirely new planet. And it will also give you access to the private quarters upgrade segment for your orbiter. What that is, it is an upgrade segment that you'll be able to build in your foundry and then in slots to allow you to open this door and enter this room. After completing War Within, you will next be able to access the quest Chains of Harrow, the next main story quest. Chains of Harrow is Warframe's horror quest. It's a bit spooky, and you'll be introduced to a new character called the Man in the Wall, which is very mysterious, so have fun with Chains of Harrow. Upon completing Chains of Harrow, you probably won't know what to do next, as you won't unlock a new quest simply by completing Chains of Harrow. Instead, you have to also make sure you've already built the private quarters suite and unlock the private quarters. Upon completing both Chains of Harrow and having the private quarters unlocked, you will have access to the Apostary Prologue, which is a prologue quest to this quest right here, the Sacrifice. Upon completing the Apostary Prologue, you will immediately unlock the Sacrifice, which is a very good quest, a very emotional quest, and once again, the next quest in the main storyline. After you've done that, you'll simply be able to unlock Prologue to War. And Prologue to War is broken into three different prologues. Doing the first one will then unlock the second will unlock the third. And the Prologue to War is the last few quests that you need to do to unlock the New War. However, the New War requires you to have some additional steps completed. First of all, you need to have a Railjack, which you would have already done through Rising Tide. You need to do Prologue to War, which we also already did. And you need to have a Necromech, which you get from the open world Cambion Drift on Deimos. I have already made a video explaining how to get a Necromech in the most effective way, as the most obvious way to get a Necromech is by far the worst way to do it, and will make the grind to get one hours longer than what it needs to be. So please check out my video and watch how to get a Necromech the proper way, so you don't spend hours of unnecessary time trying to get one. I'm obviously not going to repeat myself here on how to get it, as it's enough information to make a whole video out of, and this video is already long, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Once you've completed New War, now you've done it. You're a mid-game player, and you'll have access to a few new quests. The first thing I recommend doing as a mid-game player is to go back to Deimos and get something called the Helminth, which I honestly recommend you actually doing when you're farming your necromech, because I see it as 2 birds, 1 stone. But if you didn't farm it, get it while you're farming your necromech, then go get it now, because it is very important for making better builds. Also, you're going to need to do the Angels of the Zeramin, Whispers in the Wool, Jade Shadows, and the Veil Breaker, or additional quests that are introduced, or additional quests that you unlock upon the completion of New War. All of them will give you access to new items and new gear in the game that will make you a lot more powerful. Veilbreaker will give you Archon Shards. Whispers in the Wool will give you more ways to farm Archon Shards as well as combined Archon Shards. But you need to do Veilbreaker to actually be able to put Archon Shards on your Warframe. Angels of Zeramin will give you access to Incarnate weapons, which are very powerful weapons. And Whispers in the Wool will also give you access to the melee upgrade segment for your Orbiter, which will give you access to melee arcanes and melee Exilus mods. And also Jade Shadows will give you access to the very good Elementalist mods. But it isn't as needed as the other 3, so you could have it as your least priority. I will say, however, though, that in order to get to the late game, you must complete every single node in the start chart. And there are nodes on the start chart that are locked behind Jade Shadows, Whispers in the Wool, and Angel of the Zeramin. So for you to get to the late game, you have to complete these quests. Additionally, there is also the quest The Lotus Eaters, which is the last main quest line. You get it unlocked after completing Whispers in the Wool. It ties into the next quest that hasn't been released yet into the game, so you don't really need to do that right now. But you may as well do it. It won't take long. It's a prologue, so it takes like 5 seconds to do. Most of these quests are actually pretty small. Jade Shadows and Veilbreaker you can do in like 20 minutes. Angel of the Zeramin is a bit longer, but you could be able to do it in like 40 minutes or so. Whispers in the Walls is more of a full-length quest, probably closer to 2 hours. But I would also strongly argue it is the best quest in the entire game. So I would recommend playing it and enjoying it, because it is just an amazing quest. After you've gotten the helmet and completed those quests, you're in the mid-game, and the game kind of stops telling you what to do, and you can really go about doing things however way you want. You can go and level up syndicates, you can go and farm MR, you can go and farm new Warframes, new weapons, any really thing you want. But when you're ready, the way you get to the late game is by completing every single node on the start chart, which will give you access to 2 things. The first one is arbitrations, which I want to make a video on explaining arbitrations a bit more. Arbitrations are what I would call the end of the mid-game, and I strongly recommend you spending quite a lot of time in arbitrations before you actually go on and move to late game content, as you'll get the best weapon mods in the game, being the Galvanized mods, as well as crucial survivability mods for your Warframe that will make your experience in Steel Path, which is the late game, a lot easier. In addition to arbitrations, though, you will also unlock Steel Path, which is basically New Game Plus. You'll be able to go and redo the entire start chart, except this time, enemy level is increased by 100, their health is increased by 250%, the shield is also increased by 250%, but your resource drop chance and your mod drop chance is increased by 100%. So, yes, if you saw the level of arbitrations just before and thought that was very high, looking at level 60 to 80 enemies, the minimum level of enemies on Steel Path is level 101. So, this is why I strongly recommend you doing arbitrations before Steel Path, as arbitrations will give you access to gear that will increase your power dramatically, which will make Steel Path a lot easier. Otherwise, you're more than likely to get onto Steel Path, realize you do crap all damage, and have no idea what's wrong. Other late game content include Archon Hunts, Necrocells, Elite Deparking Media, Eidolons, and Prophet Taker, which are actually all content that you unlock before Steel Path. But again, I recommend you only really doing them after you've done arbitrations, because arbitrations will make these contents a lot easier. Prophet Taker and Eidolon specifically are giant gear checks and need a lot of things to make to get going right. And then to get going right, there's honestly not a lot of content in the late game. Most of the content is actually mid-game content, and most of what you're doing in the late game is pretty much just going back and completing any mid-game content you already haven't done. Like the open worlds, if it wasn't clear, once you get to the mid-game is probably when you want to reconsider going back to the open worlds and getting some of the stuff there. You also have Kuvaliches, which will give you access to better games, along with Sisters of Parvus, which are also things you can unlock in the new game, but I highly recommend you not doing Kuvaliches or Sisters of Parvus in the new game, as their level is much higher than what you're used to, and you're going to put in a lot of effort for very little, for not as much reward. Like, it's just going to be too much effort for what it is. So I don't recommend engaging with these content in the new game, but once you get to the mid game, you can start engaging with all this content. You can go engage with the other new nodes you've unlocked after Whispers in the Wool, Angels of Zeramin, level up your focus, and all these other stuff. If these are terms you don't know what I mean, it's because you just haven't unlocked them yet in the game. So once you've gotten to the point where you've unlocked them, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that is all for this video. It is a bit of a longer one. There is a lot to cover in the new game, I suppose. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this guide was helpful to kind of give you some direction in this game. As the game is poorly designed, you have access to mid-game content, or even told to do mid-game content in the new game, even at the start of the game with Sire's Visual. You really shouldn't be doing the open worlds that early. Even Kuvaliches are way too hard for a new game player. You have access to late game content in the mid-game. It's not designed well. It doesn't have a good flow to it. It can be confusing. You can be lost, not sure how to progress. So I hope this video was helpful for that, because the game is extremely fun, even with the flaws of its bad design. So I hope this video helped you enjoy the game more. And until next time, bye bye!